Many things are changing. It's never snowed here before. We have to go in the basement. Up here is for daytime stories. The basement's for secrets.
But things are really how they seem.
Welcome, Formerly Faithful. We are back to cover episode 3 of 4, entitled There and Back Again. Once again, before I begin, make sure you like and subscribe and turn on your notifications. I'm covering every single episode for season 3. You can go back and watch the first 3 reviews that I've done. I'm on the road to 10,000 subscribers. A little bit over, let me see, I think I'm close to about 8,300. So if you like the content, please like and subscribe. But enough of that. We got a lot to get into. I want to discuss first the return of the night creatures. We love to hate them, but I have to admit I was missing them over the last 2 episodes, even after what they did in the season 3 debut. Things are a little bit better when the night creatures are around. They put a lot of pressure on everyone, physical and mental, and this episode did not disappoint on that front. First off, we had Boyd and Randall trying to come up with a strategy of watching their patterns, trying to figure out how to capture one. Boyd has been big on that since losing Tien Chen. Randall said he's along for the ride. He wanted to also give his input. He mentioned that they do have patterns, so that's something to keep in mind in the future. They have their little quips that they all have, and that makes me think that the night creatures are retaining some aspect of the personality they had when they were human beings. And I think that kind of shines through, and that might be a way to take one of them out. If there's a little bit of a tick that one of them has, it sounds like there's a couple that likes to isolate themselves by the playground. That would be an opportune time to try and snatch one of them if we ever get to that point. Problem that we have going on now is that we had a big ambush with the ambulance. The ambulance comes back. Tabitha is back in the town with Victor's father, Henry, and unfortunately, they have 2 EMTs and a cop that don't believe anything that they say. And in short order, the EMTs are killed, and the cop just panics completely, leaves Tabitha and Henry in the ambulance with Tabitha actually handcuffed to a railing, and she just runs off into the town, ends up shooting one of the Colony House people, Jennifer, by accident, and then all hell breaks loose after that. Uh, there's so much to unpack there. I think the main thing is the night creatures were looking to foster more discord, and they accomplished that magnificently. The main thing is with Randall and Boyd. Randall was all on point as far as trying to get Tabitha out of the handcuffs. He went and got his toolkit. He went and threw it over to Boyd. He was willing to sacrifice himself in order to do that. He thought he was going to get back to the bus in time, but unfortunately, whatever he went through when he was in that trance, a part of that is still in him where he's seeing these visions of the bugs flying on him, and the night creatures were able to get a hold of him. And before he was taken, you saw him yell at Boyd that you left me. So I think that's going to be a big issue for Boyd going forward, because we see at the end of the episode that Randall is essentially mutilated. He was tortured, left out there as a warning to the townspeople. Very similar, if you remember, to that vision that Jade saw in the last episode with the man with the spike impaled through his eye. I feel like that's something that the night creatures have done throughout history, is leaving bodies up as a warning. But for whatever reason, they left Randall alive. And I think the reason that they did that is because they're going down the same path that they went down with Sara a couple seasons ago, and essentially turning someone without actually converting them and turning them into a night creature. I think they're trying to make Randall an agent of chaos the same way Sara was before. Now, how does he become an agent of chaos? I feel he becomes that because now he's going to have probably a hatred for Boyd. It's not fair that he does, because Boyd was left with this unfortunate choice. Either he tries to save Randall and has everybody else get slaughtered, or he leaves Randall and saves everyone else in the ambulance. And he made a choice with the numbers game to save Tabitha, uh, Jim, and also Victor's father. So I think he made the right choice, and there's really no bad choices in that situation. But I don't think Randall is going to see it like that. I think Randall's a very prideful person to get butchered like that and essentially humiliated in front of the whole town, I think it's going to end up creating a very intense distrust for Boyd. And I think it could lead to him potentially trying to create another faction within the town. Because remember, everybody's still panicked about what's been happening in the last couple of episodes. T and Chen has been killed. The food has been taken. They're just getting food back, but all their crops have rotted out. So I think there's already, they're already looking at Boyd's leadership and not completely on board with him. So if you have Randall coming through talking about he can't protect us, look what happened to me. I can be the one to protect them. I protect you guys. I've seen patterns with the night creatures. We can do this together. We just have to get Boyd out of the picture. I can see him doing that. Now, how many people will go to his side is the question. I think the first potential candidate was somebody else who's been humiliated, which is a female cop. She was very apologetic about shooting Nikki by accident, but Boyd dressed her down in front of everyone, was going to grab her and throw her outside. I don't think she's going to be completely trusted within Colony House. So she just got here and she's completely isolated with no allies. And that's where I can see her and Randall bonding, and that can be the start of a faction. Doesn't, now that I think about it, doesn't need to be a lot of people. It can only be two or three people that can cause a lot of chaos within the town. And I think that's what we're going to see over the next couple of episodes. I think Randall is going to be just kind of a wild card for the rest of the season and the pain in Boyd's side. And so we'll see where that go. I don't think he'll go as far as to try and kill Boyd, as we saw that one character do at the end of last season. I don't think he'll go that far, but I think he's going to slowly try to erode away Boyd's leadership as the season progresses. The other thing that stood out to me is we learned a little bit more about the talisman. Keep that in mind. Randall thought he could just hold the talisman in his hand and direct it right at the night creatures, and that would work. And the night creatures mocked him and said, "Oh, honey, it doesn't work like that." So we're learning something else. When you're out in the town running around, talisman or not, you're vulnerable. The night creatures can get you. You have to be in a location somewhere where you can actually a home, maybe a tree, a well, someplace where you can actually lift up and put the talisman outside of the structure. If you don't do that, then it doesn't work. So something to keep in mind going forward, and something that Boyd and company needs to keep in mind. Hopefully, Randall will tell them that if he still is going to go ahead with this idea of capturing one, that can be a disaster, trying to capture a night creature in the house and thinking you can hold one, and that isn't the case. So we'll see where that goes on that front. Another thing we need to look at, and this was surprising, Donna. There's a scene where Donna is actually breaking down. This is one of the first times I've seen her do that. So if Donna is on the verge of breaking, I think the town is in big trouble, and that's going to lead to even more panic. So I want to see if Donna holds it together. Could have just been a moment of vulnerability, but if Donna continues to erode, that can cause complete chaos in Colony House. Now, speaking of Colony House, the next big thing we have to talk about, we were just talking about night creatures. We often have to talk about our night creature in training, good old Fatima. My theory for those of you who are tuning in for the first time is that Fatima is going to become a night creature. I think the baby that's inside of her is either going to convert her or turn her, or is going to kill her and come out as a night creature. I'm leaning more towards changing her into one. And I think it's going to tie somehow into Elgin. I think if you notice in this episode at the beginning, when Fatima was talking, the very next person we see is Elgin, and Donna asking him, "Are you okay? Do you want to say anything?" And he doesn't share what's going on with him in these visions, but he sees another vision of this zombified woman, which I was speculating may be Fatima. The hair is different, but the build is the same. And I'm wondering if he's seeing a future version of Fatima, or maybe that's Fatima's child growing up. You just never know with this show. But something ties into Elgin and Fatima some type of way. But we'll find out a little bit more about that later in the season. The main thing now is that she is turning and getting worse. Before was rotten food. Now she's consuming actual viscera, out of Nikki's dead body and licking blood. So I think she's close. The way things are going, I'm thinking we only have 2 or 3 more episodes max before she completely turns and is in the colony house, slashing people and shrieking, full on night creature. And I think at that point, as I said before, I think it's going to fall on Ellis to have to do the tragic decision of killing her. The only thing that can throw a wrench in that is maybe Elgin finds out about Fatima's condition before anyone else. Then we'll see what he does. I'm wondering if he'll take it upon himself to try and put down Fatima himself because he's connected some type of way with Fatima and this vision of this woman that he's seeing. So, and one thing that makes me think that I'll dig it up if I can find it in season two, I actually spoke to the actress that plays Fatima, and she said herself that she doesn't trust Elgin and she thinks something is going on with him.
I've been thinking about the baby for so long now that I'm like, what is the baby? What is the fucking deal here? Um, the baby or Elgin? Elgin is really suspect. I don't trust Elgin, even though I'm supposed to look out for him.
That's a good one.
Um, but yeah, yeah.
That answers it. And just
People
so
have been saying Elgin is Fatima and Ellis's baby, but that's a story for another time.
that seems a little bit too convoluted for me, even though it's possible. I think it's more so that this vision of this woman that he's been seeing is going to lead to Fatima some type of way, good or bad. Probably bad because we're in the From universe, but that's what I'm leaning towards. But I think Fatima is the biggest danger to Colony House, with her actually consuming human flesh and drinking human blood. She has to be close to turning. So I don't expect this baby to go to full term because I think she's really only in the first couple months. I don't know if night creature babies are born quicker, they have a lower gestation period, but I think two more episodes, three more episodes, she's turning at some point, and she's going to kill somebody in that house. Maybe Elgin, maybe Tilly, because Tilly, of course, was the one with the tarot cards and saw the initial vision. And she in this episode talked about feeling bad for Fatima, thinking that she's cursed. So I could see her also becoming a victim because if Fatima turns, who's going to be around her? Ellis, potential victim as well. I think Ellis has a little bit of plot armor, or Tilly, because Tilly's running behind her and wanting to help Fatima. So I think those are the three potential people that Night Creature Fatima can kill first. Keep an eye on that. Let's go to the other plot that's been kind of meandering a little bit, but I think it's picking up steam now, and that's Victor and Sara. And we're finding a little bit more backstory about Victor when his mother left to try and save the town, and his sister Victoria ended up leaving as well. They all perished. I think he never found Miranda or Victoria's body, but he found the bodies of all the other townspeople. He was literally the only survivor because he was the only one that hid. And it gave us a little bit more insight into why Victor is the way he is, because essentially he was raised by dead bodies and ghosts. The child, the boy in white, that was his only companion for years on end. And, with funerals, didn't have, proper burials or anything. So there's really no closure that he can have. The most that he can do is try and keep mementos of the people that passed away to try and keep them alive. Now, this Jasper puppet is very interesting. I feel like we're going into Twin Peaks type of territory. So my concern, well, not a concern, but well, I think it is a concern, is we're getting multiple entities. And like Twin Peaks, they had this concept called the Black Lodge, where all these evil entities lived at and how they terrorize the Twin Peaks community. I think we're seeing something similar here. I was always in my mind thinking there's one hand behind everything that created the night creatures and is causing all this havoc. But I'm feeling more like that's not the case. I think we have multiple entities with their own goals and their own visions about how the town is going to go and how they, terrorize the people in the town. The night creatures might be their own faction that were just created by maybe one entity. The boy in white seems benevolent, but that's another person. And then we also have, this Thomas entity, which may be the boy in white, maybe isn't. Their voices sound similar. So that's something else I was thinking about when the Thomas entity was talking to Ethan and Jim on the phone. But I think we have multiple spirits, in this particular place, and it's going to be up to Boyd and everyone to, I guess, make the best contact they have with the benevolent ones. We're thinking that it is the boy in white. But I'm starting to wonder if the boy in white maybe has a split personality. Does he have an evil equivalent? Because the person on that phone that was talking to Jim and Ethan sounded very similar to the boy in white, in my opinion. But going back to Victor's plot, this whole Jasper puppet does not sound like a friendly entity. You know, the way it was screeching in that one moment. So Victor trying to tap into that spirit and get information, that can bring even more chaos into the town and maybe something even more dangerous than the night creatures. But I'm very intrigued just the way Jasper looks. So can't wait till we see that. Hopefully, in the next episode or two, we'll hear Jasper talk directly to Victor and we'll get more insight into the town. But we also have to keep in mind it is only episode 4. We have a 10 episode season. So it also wouldn't surprise me if we don't get any Jasper dialogue directly until the second half of the season. So we'll keep an eye on that. But I feel like it's progressing really well. I think the one thing I really liked about this episode is that people are talking. You know, that was the one thing that was kind of irking me is that somebody would see a vision and they're asking, "Are you okay?" And then the person doesn't say anything. But now we're having dialogue and people are discussing what is happening. Jade is discussing his visions with Christy and Kenny. Randall is talking about how the night creatures move with Boyd. And even Ethan, he's talking with Julie, telling her that, you know, if our father passes away, it's just going to be me and you. You know, we have to be tight knit and not have any secrets. He told her that you've been different, you know, since you came back from that coma that you were in. And I want you to share with me what's going on with you because I want to try and help you. So that type of dialogue is needed. We can't have these characters going off and not revealing what they're experiencing. So I'm looking at you, Elgin. You need to be the next one to disclose what's going on either to Tilly or someone else, maybe even Fatima. But you know, like he's one of the only people that's keeping everything to himself right now, which I think is a detriment because something catastrophic is going to happen, which might completely destroy Colony House. So that is my recap. I think this was a very fast-paced episode. I like how the night creatures came back. We got a few more details about their character as far as how the talismans work. We got to see them set up some more discord with what they did to Randall. You know, what chaos is Randall going to show over the next couple episodes? Let me know what you guys think about that. And next episode, we're going to be at the midway point. So hopefully the night creatures don't disappear for 2 or 3 more episodes. But I do think next episode is going to be a little bit slower as we experience the fallout with Randall and really with this cop. Is this cop going to stay at Colony House? Is Boyd going to try and keep the cop close? We already know that she has friction with Tabitha because she didn't listen to Tabitha and left Tabitha there. And then the other big thing is I think this episode is going to really focus on the reunion between Victor and Henry. So that's going to take up a good chunk of scenes. So we can expect that next week. But thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys next week to cover episode 5. Take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend.